Hi, 11 friends. It's Chris here from Miraculate. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for being here today. So today, here I am up on Lost Lake, on the Mountain of Strength, Glacier Mountains, 360 degrees of Glacier Mountains. I hope you enjoy this discussion today. So today, we're going to discuss fear. That's what we're going to discuss is fear, okay? So fear is a constant companion, and fear is an automatic response of your humanness or our humanness. So fear's definition of boundaries is it is a constant companion of failures, letdowns, heartaches, pain, warning, threats, right? Excuses. And it's also a constant companion of motivated success and negative ambition for a lot of us, but not all. See, fear is a universal planetary wake-up call that's happening right now all around the globe. That is ringing in most, but not all of our ears right now. And it's vibrating at the core of our center. Fear, fear, fear. This is where as an individual, as a collective, produce change out of necessity. Okay? Or to produce change out of pause. When there's this fear, we have this pause in ourselves. Or produce change out of reflection. This fear we're reflecting, we can make a change in this reflection. Or produce change out of friction. This friction, fight or flight or freeze, a friction happens and then we make some change, right? Or produce change from change. Fear's function can twist, it can alter, it can distort. Fear can destroy, fear can change, but also, fear can also expand and grow because fear is very real indeed. It exists beyond our physical reality. This is what the dark uses fear and the light use love, okay? So fear exists past our illusions, divine ones. Fear is a very real energy indeed. Man, guilt is not real. Guilt is fake, right? It's man-made. But fear is very real. Fear's function can be negative, but also fear's function can be positive as well. If we change our mindset, we could see fear as a positive aspect. So since fear is real, fear does exist beyond our physical reality and illusion. Why? Because fear is very real indeed. Yes, it is, okay? So fear's functions can be contracting, restricting, but also on the other side of the pendulum, it can be expanding and ongoing for change, right? So fear's function can be negative, of course, but it can also be and produce positive. If we see it, we got to change our mindset now, okay? This is what it's about. It's about changing our mindset and healing our fear. And the fear collective consciousness is like this massive, big, and love consciousness this tiny. And we're just expanding the love conscious by getting rid of the fear energy that's just encased into everybody, but not all. So the function of fear is an instinctive reaction in response to automatic responses of your humanness and instincts, okay? The limbic system consists of an almond-shaped gland called the amygdala. Now it responds for fight or flight or freeze responses, right? It's for processing our emotions. In the brain it triggers electric magnetic energy. So the fear bypasses all the thought all the processes, right? Bypasses the word processes, bypasses the logical area and the reasons of thinking, and instead it triggers fear instinctively. It hardwires. So how do we form new neurons? Well, being out here in nature forms positive neurons. We're locked away in these houses and watching TV and feeding the fear, well, we're forming neurons that just feed us more fear. So limbic brain, right? The limbic brain, which is various ventricles that are on it, which is various glands, the hypothalamus, the mammllaries, the hippocampus, the pituitary, the corpus, all responsive instinctive to fight or flight or freeze. So the limbic brain feeds and produces instinctive fear responses, right? So neural pathways have been formed, dedicated lines of direct lines of fear. And it's in a lot of us, okay? So the very chemistry and electromagnetic energy, okay, create an instinctive response. So that is fear's function to bypass everything and instead create a fight, flight, or freeze, an ego lock in. No, you're wrong, it's the fact. All right, get those people in the fear response going on. That's it, woo, gone. Try convincing them something, doesn't work. You just waste your energy there. So this has been ingrained, rewired, and built-in fear throughout your lifetimes on planet Earth. It's what the dark elite use to keep themselves in power. Is fear this, fear that, that might happen, this might happen. Disguise practicalities as fear. So fear numbs us, it disarms us, it leaves you dysfunctional. It really does, it shuts you down, divine ones. Shuts you down. So when the functions of fear are negative, they function as a substitute. as a motivator, as an anesthetic, and as manipulation. So negative fear imprisons and numbs you. Negative fear putrefies and into bitterness, right? Resentments, and then into maybe even addictions, right? So negative fear numbs, disables you, and leaves you dysfunctional. All tied up in knots. I can't do it, it's too fearful, I don't know how to do it. Negative fear fosters control over you though. The fear you have inside of you is controlling you, Divine One, and leaves you powerless, hopeless, right? Negative fear impedes on you, suffocating you. I can't breathe, I can't do it, it's too much. There are old fears though. Old fears from lifetimes before, old fears from your childhood, right? These old fears are inside of you. And they generate this sense of feeling of separation inside of you. With its struggle, we got lots of struggle, with its exhaustion, with its paranoia, with its overprotectiveness, with its avoid this, avoid that, I can't do this, with its jeopardizing, with its threats. So these old fears threaten with loss, they threaten with exposure, they threaten with confrontation, they threaten with rejection, they threaten with judgment, they threaten with punishment, and they threaten with the very existence of your physical, emotional, mental, and your spiritual being, Divine One. Your existence of doing, your existence of having, your existence of possessing. This is what old fears do and did to you. So the new fears also, they threaten you too. As we're going forward, there's new fears you haven't faced before, new guilts and fears as you're going forward, but mostly we're focusing on the fears today. So the fears threaten you too. They threaten your very existence, and that's what we're focusing on. So fears is the thought and the feeling of separation. Alone, therefore lonely, and forever. It is a thought of feeling of single, plural, of thoughts and feelings of being separate. If being alone and therefore lonely forever. Right? This is the core, this is the seed, this is the seminal, central energy of all fear. This is not the fullness nor the dimension and depth of fear. It is the core of the seed of the fear energy. In order for this core of the seed, that is seminal energy, to truly manifest itself, to truly become fear, to other conditions must be met. Two other conditions must be met, okay? That is the thought and feeling of separation and being separate. Alone and therefore lonely. Alone and lonely forever must threaten your very existence and puts that very existence into jeopardy, Divine One. So when you feel separate and alone, you will be feeling ostracized, alienated, boycotted, disorientated, confused, misplaced, abandoned, rejected. When you feel lonely, that could create a feeling of depressed, sad, left out, not good enough, unworthy, no one wants me, who am I? Why am I on this planet, man? It could be a wide variety of feelings, but does not necessarily make you afraid. Sometimes being alone is a grand and glorious thing called solitude. Love it. I love it. Those that want to be alone and want to live their life separate from the rhythms, the cadence, the beats, the flow of events, the rhythmic patterns of consensus, such as yourself, magicians, healers, looking for that self-imposed exile will definitely experience that sense of alone, not necessarily lonely. Just that thought and feeling separate, lonely, and alone generates fears. Especially when these very same thoughts and feelings threaten your very existence, Divine One. Threaten your existence and put existence in jeopardy. So when you're standing out there on the street corner, right? When you're standing on the street corner and you see a thug all dressed up with knives, okay? I used to do armed robberies. I used to live on the streets as a crack and heroin addict, right? And guns, tattoos, and piercings, right? And he comes up to you. You have a certain sense of separation rising within you at that time. Before they walk by me, for example, or before I walk by those ones when I was doing that, you get very, very alone and very lonely. Right? I've also been robbed too, a very alone and lonely feeling. My very existence feels threatened in that moment, and it's jeopardy. It's that fear, Divine One. New fears will rise and fear will emerge as you move forward. They will, as you're going out on your journey, divine magicians that you are, grand healers that you are, star children that you are. It's time now for transformation. It's time for transforming your fear into magical success, Divine Ones. The point of readiness and being prepared, the fact that you stand ready, generates new fears, Divine Ones. There's also several other factors that will generate these new fears. The first is the phenomenon of resonance, the phenomenon of resonance of causation, Divine Ones. The old paradigm of causations, the upper causations, or the causations of causal theory, or the Cartesian philosophy. Let us take Newtonian physics here for a second. Newtonian's first law states that every object will remain at rest, or, and uniform motion in a straight line and less compelled to change its state of action from an external force. An example is a billiard ball colliding type causation that does generally these new types of fears. But resonant causation, new paradigm of causation, increases its influence as the days and weeks and months and years unfold, can generate fears and a new kinds of fears within you, Divine One. If you have a resonance, right, of fear, you will attract more fear. Likes attract like, okay? Fears that can have been using perhaps, or even pretending you are not consciously, or perhaps convincing yourself that you're not consciously using. The subconscious and unconscious, they can play a big role in our life, Divine Ones. Fears you have been using get forced to the surface. That's what it's like. It gets rise up, resonance, causation gets rise to the surface. Fears have become your avenue of least resistance. Over the years in our automatic response of our humanness, of your humanness, instinct response and survival needs to fight, or flees. Resonant will push the old fears to the surface to be what? Healed, but most will run, fear, run, control, manipulate, get mad, get the ego out, protect. It's fearful. It's scary. Oh my God. You see, when you're in a current resonance and frequency, vibration of standing wave of various components of self that you are, the current resonance has a place in the space for your fears. When that resonance rises, right? When that resonance increases, Divine Ones, when it becomes rare, deeper, more real, those rattles of fear come to the surface to be exposed. You don't run from them, you face them. You face your fears, Divine Ones. The flatheads, the sharps, the jagged ends, the broken pieces, the half pieces, the little pieces, the hard pieces, the broken little sharp pieces inside of you. Those are fears rise to the surface and they shut you down. I can't, my soul, my chest, I fear, I'm blocked, I can't do it. They're sharp, they're jagged, they cut you off from ever pursuing your mission in Divine Ones, yeah! So as your resonance rises, these that cannot be sustained, that cannot be suspended, or by your suppression techniques that you use, these fears that you have been using, however secretly or openly, right? These avenues of least resistance or least effort come to service to be faced and cleared out, Divine Ones. It's like an immune system that searches out for foreign elements of alien energy. Your immune system finds them, right? Then encapsulates them, and then moves them out to the surface to be healed, to be expelled from the body. It's like the fear inside of you. As you're working on yourself, it's going to grab those little fears and bring it to the surface for you to face them and run from them, okay? Fears that you've been using all of a sudden will show up even though you have not been in a certain situation. They're showing up. They're just showing up. Why is there certain fears? Yes, and old fears that you have not completely released. You've been avoiding your whole life, avoiding responsibility, avoiding all these things, just blaming. Blame. It's your fault for making me feel like this. Lots of those ones. Right? So these are to let go of, right? So maybe you haven't fully released these, haven't fully ended, like residue. They're still stuck in there. They get shaken up, vibrated, and gets brought to the surface to be vented, Divine Ones, to be revealed and to be healed, to be let go of now. So some of these are yet to be finished fears. As a result of resonance becomes conscious. So now's the time to transform your fear into a thriving, bountiful, and magical success. That's right, a bountiful and magical success. The forms of fear you know, there are many techniques with which to work with fear. Okay, like I've done forensic healing on it and theta on it. And then I do a Syrian, Lemurian, Palladian council. I do this thing called Sophia Wisdom. So by you facing your fears, you can transform yourself. You can do that in private sessions, Divine Ones. Okay. You see, the forms of fear you may know too well, right? This is what you know, is that there will be fears. And it is up to you now to face them, or you can run from them again. But everywhere you run, there's your fear, and it comes back around, boom, slap, bigger charge each time you run from it. I gotta control my life, I gotta control everything so I don't have fear in my life. You're gonna have more fears that way, okay? So there are fears that are intended to be ended, right? I mean, there's fears that are not intended to be ended. Instead, they're intended to move beyond, to go through them, to step through them. You see, there are blockages, entanglements, hooks that are there to be revealed, released, handled, and healed, Divine Ones. However, there seem to be those blockages and entanglements that never seem to go away. No matter how much you do, how much healing you do, it's like they're still there. So what am I doing wrong? Why do I still fear? Why is this? What's happening inside me? Because they are not intended to be left or intended to be disconnected, but instead they are intended to be transformed from enemies into allies. Your fear is your ally. Your fear will help you grow into the greatest versions of yourself, Divine One. We're all scared of fear. We don't want to face shame. We don't want to face guilt. We don't want to face unhealthy anger. We don't want to face fears. You face them all, you transcend, you rise into higher grounds, Divine One. And you activate more of your higher magic now. So facing your fears is essential now to your growth and your development. It is part of your evolution. They are essential to your growth from the you who was to the one who is. To the you who possesses, to you that is a state of being and mind. With certain fears, the new fears are not intended to be obliterated, okay, or ignored, but instead intended to be faced, used, and intended to be part of your growth, right? And your expansion, your depth, your mix of who you are as a being, not by who you are, or but what you are, or what you do, or have, but defined by a state of being. These new fears will arise and will emerge partly by what we already suggested as a result of readiness, being ready, the result of proximity. The fact that you stand ready as a light worker, Divine Ones. So we're going to have these new fear entanglements as we're going out in the world, okay? There are many new entanglements with new names, with new functions, new forms, and new reasons. Oh my God, there's new fears. I haven't dealt with my old fears yet. What am I going to do? I'm going to hide. I'm on the wrong planet. It's time for a greater awareness of understanding, Divine Ones, of the fear that is within you and around you. It is time for a deeper knowing. It is time now to explore deep within you. Let us explore these new types of perpetuating fears and new names and new functions and new reasons together. Let us dive into the learning techniques to heal impeding fear that has stuck you in quicksand, hiding you in your addictions, your excuses, your manipulations, your control, your what-ifs. Fear is disguised as practicality. That creates this tightness in your chest. I can't breathe, it's too much. Can't do it. Wanting to fight, flight, or freeze through every situation arising in the world and reacting instead of responding with the same old silly reacting remarks. Let us dive into learning these new techniques together, Divine Ones. The old forms, the old fears are ending now, right? They're ending. The new forms, the new fears are forming and are meant to be moved beyond. Move beyond, not hooked up on again. I'm hooked up on these old fears again. It is time now to learn new techniques, Divine Ones. Seer Lemurian Council, Galactic Council of Light, here to bring forth new forms, new techniques for you to go through these fears that have got humanity hooked up, tripped up. It's time to learn new techniques that will change your life forever. Are you ready, light workers? Are you ready, divine beings that you are? Are you ready, Council of Light? Are you ready, the ones bringing here the divine love for the grand awakening, the ascension, the coming that is happening now, great ones? You have all become so beautiful and so powerful experts of working in the past, all working on your past. Past life this, past life that, past this, working on it really good. So you have also mastered these techniques, right? And applied them when needed. The techniques have been your antidote to your ambiguous, not simple, but easy and fun to love past, Divine Ones. It's not simple, but it's easy and fun to love my fear, okay? Because my fear is my glorious teacher. It's not my enemy. I want to run around and have to control everything so there's no fear. This brings fear more rack around for you. How's that going for you? How's that going for you? Your task, Divine One, Wayseer, Magician of Love's Embrace, are to learn how to work with the ever-changing tides of the future. Change. I'm open to change. I embrace change. I embrace life. I love myself and life. And that means learning how to work with and heal these new entanglements that most, but not all, are hooked up on and cannot see their way out. They're in their own deep woods. Dante's poem. All in their own deep woods, stuck in their deep woods, stuck in fear, going deeper into their fear. It's time to rise up and rise up out of your own deep woods. The way to work with these new fears, right, is not the same way that you've learned in the past, but a new way and a new technique bound and born from the past, but instead a technique generated and born in the future, born of Syrian Lemurian love, grand ones. Blessings. Syrian Lemurian Council, Galactic Council of Light. Woo! Therefore you have gathered here beautiful rays of love. And you have gathered with love, and you've gathered here, Divine Ones. Let us begin to untangle the past, okay? The future fears, and the fears together as one, love, right? Take yourself through a tender trust healing method to heal deep fears, past, old, and new fears. Let us move beyond these entanglements together, okay? that you've been hooking up on for all these years, some of you for lifetimes, some of you for multiple lifetimes, hooking up on the same old fears, ingrained in your whole system. You Divine One is ready now, ready to search for a greater depth, a greater power, right? Humble power of light and love. Not to conquer, but a power of your own. A greater heights of success and happiness. Yes! A deeper love. Yes! Oh, it's so beautiful. Believe me, it's so beautiful. I used to be a crack addict on the streets, and I'll tell you, man, when you transform your fears and your guilt and your pain, your hardships, and all the, oh my God, I got all this pain inside of me, then you rise into your power, and we can all rise into our power. Every single person here in this world can rise into their power once they break free from the fear trap they've all been fed. So Divine One is ready to accept new levels of depths, new levels of truths, achievements, accomplishments, okay? Right? And reality within reality. New dimensions of miracles, forgotten magic, forgotten love, and the magic with fantasia. Fantasia, not phantasm, not fake, but fantasia with wisdom, Divine Ones. Dreams and visions. Just look at you now, how far you have come. You're so ready now to embark on this journey. I know you're ready to embark on this journey, Divine Ones. I know you are. This new journey of beginningness. I am open to new beginningness. I'm open to the beginning of my life. I'm open to the beginning of who I'm destined to become. I'm ready to take this journey instead of hiding in the closet. You expect a sandwich to come to you in the closet? No, you got to get out there and you got to make yourself a sandwich. Let's embark on this journey together, Divine Ones. Fear is nothing. Fear is a perception. That's right. You change your perception and fear goes away. It's just that simple. We just got to awaken the Sophia wisdom inside of us. And we're all afraid of fear, trying to control fear, but let it go now. Fear is your teacher, Divine Ones. It shows you where you need more loving. That's a mark for more loving. Heal the fear through the principle of God, Goddess, of man and woman. Okay? That you are enough and you've always been enough, and how you've tried and tested this one to figure out that you're enough. And right now you're enough in this moment, no matter what it is you think it is, you're enough. The love within you comes from the Father, Mother within. It, yeah. And the will of love. And you will release the fear, Divine Ones. Let's embrace this new life. Your glorified, beautiful life. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful you're here. It's so beautiful that you are here. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you're here today. So let's embrace new people, places, and opportunities. We learn about ourselves through new experiences, right? New experiences, I'm ready now. Let's open new approaches and experiences for ourselves. This way we learn new ways of looking at situations, new ways of responding instead of reacting with fight or flight or freeze. The new beginning is for you. Are you ready now? Are you ready to embark on this new journey, Divine Ones, and release your fears? Are you ready? Are you ready? If you'd like to heal any of your old fears that are just tripping you up, and those fears you threw forward in the future, and they're tripping you up with new fears and old fears, I'm all twisted up with all these entanglements, I don't know what to do, I got so much fear in my body, I can't breathe. Alright, the new fears that rise to the conscious surface, then feel free to contact me. And we'll work through your fears, and we'll release the pockets of old fears, and we'll release the new fears, and the guilt if you want. And I work with shame, and I work with unhealthy anger. But this tape is to discuss fears. So peace is the result when one conquers his or her deepest fears. You try to find, I gotta find peace. I gotta find peace all around me, but peace is within you, Divine Ones. And when you release your fears, there is a sense of peace, and you can handle all situations in life, Divine Ones. Thank you so much for listening to me today. Thank you so much for being here today. This is Chris Parr from Light, Syrian Lemurian Council, Wisdoms and Teachings, Galactic Council of Light and Love, yeah, Agathar Shambhala, Crystal City within Central Earth, www.miraculite.com for all your healing needs. This is Chris from Miraculite, over and out. Yeah. You're destined for success. We're here to be realized, not re-forgotten in fear. Face your shadow. Face your past. Face your future. Face your old fears. Face your new fears. And rise into who you are destined to become.